Hey everybody, if you haven't noticed, I'm not Lars Linton, but I'm bringing your home group video for this week. Lars couldn't make it today. Some pressing business has him out of town. What I want to talk to you about is the text that we used for this week's study through the life of Daniel, Daniel chapter 6, verses 1 through 14. And we talked about it being a trap, and it really was a trap set for Daniel, set by some jealous associates who saw that the only way they could successfully bring an accusation against Daniel was if they brought it concerning his obedience to his God in heaven. Well, they set that trap. Daniel did exactly what he's always done before in the sake of carrying out what he did in his habits of prayer, habits that he learned very early in his life. And because of that, King Darius had to hold Daniel accountable under that law. Well, what do we have that's good for you to discuss among your life groups? Well, look, the discussion questions that get handed out, you have those. You can look through those. Let me just emphasize a couple of points for you to think about in terms of great discussion points for your group. Number one, you do want to spend some time talking about Daniel's integrity and how the world could see it. It is remarkable that the Bible tells us, and Daniel's adversaries tell us, that they could find nothing to take hold of him. He was a man who was blameless. To use a New Testament phrase, he was above reproach. It's going to be a very important discussion for your life group to have about how we can live lives of greater integrity before a watching world. All with that thing in mind that we may be the only Bible that an unbeliever ever reads. So talk about that. Press home that idea of our own personal integrity before God and a watching world and how it makes a difference. And don't be afraid to get very practical and go around the group and ask people how they have seen growth or improvement or things that have helped them in their own approach to their personal integrity. That's one thing. The second thing to discuss is something that I really didn't take much from the message as I developed it, but it's a great point for you to examine. It's the danger of jealousy, the danger of ambition, because these men came against Daniel because of their jealousy and ambition. Remember, the main people were people who worked alongside with Daniel or underneath them, and they were jealous because God had blessed Daniel's leadership so much that Darius was thinking of putting Daniel in charge of everything. Well, that kind of ambition, that kind of jealousy made Daniel their target. Don't be afraid to talk about that. That's a great topic to talk about, the danger of ambition, the danger of jealousy. That's something that really hits home. But maybe the most target-rich environment that you're going to have is to simply talk about Daniel's life of prayer. And verse 10 is the verse you want to focus on there, because it tells us all that Daniel did, and I drew out 6 different points about how Daniel prayed as a regular habit and how that was reflected in verse 10. So it's a great thing to talk about our prayer lives, what we can do to have a better intention prayer life, and since I talk about the habits of prayer, which hopefully are set in our lives as young people, but sometimes aren't, we could still set them later, those habits of prayer, you can do a great discussion around with the people in your home group to talk about what habits of prayer and seeking after God have helped them in their own life with God. So take that time, use it, focus it in. Lars has given you a series of questions. You guys know what to do. We're almost at the end of our life group season. Enjoy your time, but use this time to talk about integrity, ambition, and the habits of prayer. You're going to have a great life group this week.